Hello, my name's Starcasm. If you couldn't tell, I'm an engineer main. Being an engineer main has taught me a lot of things, like the fact that I hate spies. So today's video is about dealing with and countering spies, just like this guy. Alright, let's just quickly go over the obvious stuff that everyone should know. Turning around, listening to footsteps, listening out for the spy voice lines, and also listening out for decloaks are pretty much things that every player should know. But I thought I'd just list them anyways, just in case a new player is watching, you know? Spies tend to hide out in either corners, under stairs, or other inconspicuous locations, usually near health and ammo packs, and will cycle through several pack locations as they backstab your team, so be an edge when you're around those areas. Shooting corners, health and ammo packs, teammates, and other such things might just save you or your teammate's life. One thing that more experienced spies do is that they go for a stab when you're already in the middle of a fight. Understandably, there isn't much time for you to really check your back when fighting someone, so moving and hopping around unpredictably could throw a spy off. But if you can, seek cover, check your back, and if there isn't a spy anywhere, proceed with your fight. Just gotta be quick, of course. This is if you're playing alone and or your team isn't really communicating that much. However, if you're with friends, you're in the middle of a fight and one of your friends warns you that there's a spy behind you, turn around immediately. It might put you at risk, but keep in mind that the spy can literally one hit kill you, while whatever power class you're fighting against can't. Most of the time anyways. You just gotta be quick and get back to the fight at hand once the spy has been dealt with. Increasing the bass on your headphones could help you hear footsteps, but you can't really rely on that since spy isn't exactly the only class in the game whose footsteps make sounds. Strange footstep sounds you hear could be from a spy, but you can't exactly rely on that, at least exclusively. It could just be from a lost free-to-play heavy that just joined the game 5 minutes ago. Hey man, are you lost? I guess he was. Also, some configs disable footsteps for some reason. Don't understand how that would improve FPS, but whatever. Anyways, let's talk about watches for a bit. Aside from those spies that use the dead ringer, Invis-watch spies are probably the most common type of spies you'll come across, so there isn't really much of a trend with their behavior, but they're generally more aggressive than cloak and dagger spies and cycle through health and ammo packs the most, so if you see packs just vanish without a trace, you're likely dealing with an Invis-watch spy. Invis-watch spies aren't invisible for long, so it's best just to spy check nearby teammates and whatnot and remain vigilant. Cloak and dagger spies are different, more careful, but also less productive. Unfortunately, there's no way to really differentiate between a spy using the Invis watch and the cloak and dagger, like audio differences or visual cues. But just keep tabs on his behavior and look in the kill feed. If he cloaks and you haven't seen him for a long time, it's probably a cloak and dagger spy. Catch the cloak and dagger spy mid-cloak with fire, mad milk, Jurati and the like is the best way to kill that type of spy, because their cloak doesn't last nearly as long as the Invis watch. But if you catch one as he's about to backstab you and he cloaks away, it's usually just best to move on and not go on a wild goose chase trying to catch him, as cloak and dagger spies can remain hidden indefinitely. Obviously, you should remain on edge, but it's best to just move on and continue with whatever you were doing. If you hear him uncloak nearby, that's when you should try and kill him. Sometimes cloak and dagger spies uncloak farther away from the victim so they don't hear the decloak, so you should still check your back every now and again just in case. But funnily enough, repeatedly catching a cloak and dagger spy just before he's about to backstab and making him run away in his cloak is sometimes just as good as killing him, since he'll be inactive for a while. Eventually that spy might just give up and find someone else to backstab in the meantime. Spies using the Euroton reward are clever and sometimes pretty tough, as they don't leave kill messages in the kill feed. If you see your teammate suddenly dying with no message, you're likely dealing with a Euroton reward spy. Euroton and reward spies have a lot more faith in their disguises and usually don't budge if you only shoot them for a second. Putting enough damage into your teammates that would be required to kill 125 HP class, like 2 rockets as a soldier or 2 or 3 meat shots as a scout, should do the trick. Unrelated to the Euroton reward, sometimes it's worth spy checking less disguised classes like soldiers, heavies and demos. Most spies don't disguise as them because of their slow movement speed and because of the amount of attention that those classes generally bring to themselves, but it's still worth a check. Dead ringer spies are by far the most aggressive and annoying spies to deal with. They tend to disguise as faster classes like scout, medic or spy. They are generally more obvious for the purpose of baiting the victims into being trick stabbed. If you see one of those type of spies, keep your distance. Don't try and melee them as you risk getting yourself trick stabbed. There's plenty of obvious clues to dead ringer spies, like dropping empty ammo packs upon death. dying to one bullet, getting a fake revenge or domination on them when you've never even interacted with them, and only showing up as dead for a second on the top UI thing that shows you team composition and dead enemies. Now that isn't something you should look at all the time, since on game modes like Payload and Attack Defend, blue team has a shot of respawn time, same goes with the losing team on control points, though it is good to look at if you're on blue team and you've killed a red spy. Also, if you're following a spy and he goes up some stairs, just stare at the bottom of those stairs. 99% of the time, said spy will jump down those stairs in the hopes that he'll trick stab you. It will likely throw off the spy and you can just kill him there and then. In my time of playing TF2, those type of spies, actually it seems that most spies usually disguise as scout for some reason. I don't understand why, considering the scout disguise is literally the most obvious out of them all, but I don't main spy, so I wouldn't know. Spies disguised as scouts still run at spy speed, so if you see a scout practically walking, he's either using the babyface's blaster, or he's a spy. Who would have guessed? Either that or he's messing around with a controller. Other ways to know if a class is a spy is if they're not shooting the enemy team. A lot of newer spies and such kind of make it obvious when they're about to do something. If you see a teammate just wandering up to a teammate or an engineer's nest for practically no reason, you might want to spy check them. Spies disguised as medic obviously can't heal people, though, medics who are just not healing anybody could be a spy. Other things to watch out is Demoman and Pyro's missing body parts, like Pyro's head or Demoman's feet. Most playable characters in TF2 use body groups for certain cosmetics and weapons, and sometimes the game just glitches out and doesn't render those body groups. They use body groups for certain cosmetics and weapons, and sometimes the game just glitches out and doesn't render those body groups. I believe the same goes for Engineer's right arm and hard hat, since those are both body group 2. Anyways, now, it's part of the video where I go over how to deal with spies as every class, because I kind of have to do that, As Scout, you're generally untouchable by spies due to your speed. That doesn't mean you shouldn't kill them off though. You're great at tracking them down and staying on their tail because of your speed. Using Mad Milk against them is also very helpful. Instead of taking your engineer's teleporter, just run to the front line like a good boy. Running there might help you spot a spy attempting to run to your spawn to sap and harass your respawning teammates. The spy could also be hiding somewhere to eventually run to the front line. As Soldier, you're pretty high on Spy's priority list because of your large health pool and damage output. Being mobile and rocket jumping from place to place makes it harder for them to backstab you. Best to remain aware of your surroundings though. Keeping the high ground makes it harder and sometimes impossible for them to reach you. And it also gives you a high vantage point to spot and point at spy to see teammates. Sometimes if they want you dead but can't reach you, they may just simply reveal themselves and gun you down. If you have the health, rocket jump and bomb them. But if you don't, just shoot a couple of rockets at them to either kill them or scare them off. If your team spots them, they'll probably try and finish them off. As Pyro, spies generally stay clear of you since you're the most reliable spy checker of the team, but that doesn't make you immune to backstabs. Because of your close range weapon, the flamethrower, you're more vulnerable to trick stabs. More experienced spies may attempt to trick stab and just tank some of the fire damage. If you're dealing with those type of spies, don't walk right up to them. The flamethrower range might be low, but it's not melee range low. If you're dealing with Spicicle spies or dead ringers, you have to keep burning them and track them down because they're pretty much immune to half the burn, at least for a while. More careful spies may just try and gun you down instead. Strafing left and right, closing the distance and putting your flames in his face will likely throw him off though. Puffing flames in corners, teammates, or around health packs is the best to expose spies. Spy checking in close proximity of your friendly engineers will keep his defense up for much longer. If an engineer is being harassed by spies frequently, consider using a home wrecker as that can remove sappers faster than any of the engineer's wrenches can. Pretty much the same as Soldier, you're high in the priority list but you have the mobility to pretty much avoid them if need be. If you play more defensively with sticky traps, it's best to not give yourself tunnel vision. Always beware of your surroundings and not get distracted. With friendly engineers, you can place your stickies by some of his buildings, so if you hear your engineer call out that his buildings are being sapped, you can detonate the trap and hopefully kill the spy. However, if you're ditching your explosives in favor of swords, shields and boots, you can fall prey to spies gunning you down. If you can't dodge or close the distance effectively, it's best to just seek cover. If you're up against trick stabbers, use your sword's extended range to your advantage, so that you can hit him but he can't hit you. As Demonite, you're kinda similar to Scout or Pyro in the sense that you can be vulnerable to trick stabs, but you also have the mobility to track spies harassing your team. Like Soldier and Demoman, you're pretty high on the spies priority list. Unlike Soldier and Demo Man, however, you do not have the mobility to avoid them, because you're fat, making you the most vulnerable out of the power classes. Check your back frequently even when you're in the middle of a fight. Spies may try to backstab you while you're eating a sandwich, so try only eating when your back is up against a wall, prop or such to avoid being stabbed mid-lunch. The Tommy Slave is great if you want to stay aware of spies, good at the silent rev up. Use it if the enemy team has a lot of spies or one very sneaky and experienced one. The Human Heater also works. Most spies just jump over the ring anyway, but it's at least a way to burn the less experienced ones. As engineer, you're probably highest on spies' priority list, right next to the medic. Spies will try and backstab and then sap your buildings, so watch your back when upgrading them. Do not stand close to your sentry but remain in its line of sight, as that might deter a spy from backstabbing you. Some spies may wait to make a move on your nest until his team pushes into it. That's when you momentarily divert your attention to possible spies incoming. Doing the sapper technique is very effective. Always kill first and then unsap your buildings. If you kill the spy but your buildings go down because of the sapper, just kindly rebuild your stuff back up as fast as possible. Dying is worse than having your stuff destroyed. The bleed damage from the Southern Hospitality can also help you track down spies that might try to run away in their cloak. The Eureka effect is also great if there's a spy at spawn sapping your entrance. Always keep you cool when your buildings are getting sapped. Most engineers get tunnel vision when their stuff gets sapped, and smart spies know this and take advantage of it. Look around and be vigilant when unsapping. That spy couldn't have gone too far. If you're not too confident with aiming with the Rescue Ranger, consider using any of the shotguns instead. The Rescue Ranger is also helpful because you can do this. The Rescue Ranger can be used for spy checking as well. If you shoot a teammate and you hear a loud crunch sound effect, I'm sorry to tell you this, but they're a spy. The short circuit can also be used to potentially find a spy that just cloaked. I wouldn't really recommend it considering the amount of metal the short circuit projectile uses up, but in my experience I have killed a few spies with it. Makes me wish there was a stranger fire for it, to be honest. If you play more aggressively running the Gunslinger, you'll be treated more like a power class or just the slowest scout, so watch your back on a semi-regular basis. Honestly, that tip goes for every class. Spies will always try to get an epic med pick on you when you play medic, so move unpredictably, check your back frequently, and communicate with your team if you see a spy. Don't always challenge spies to melee duels, as you might just get yourself trick stabbed. It's best to just have your pocket deal with them instead. Only melee them if you're alone or pinned down. Most sneaky spies may try and get the heals off you first, then kill you. It's recommended to always check your teammates before you heal them unless you're 100% sure it's an actual teammate. You know that thing I talked about with the Rescue Ranger? How if you shoot a spy with it, you hear a loud crunch sound effect? Same applies with the Crusader's crossbow. As snipers, spies your main counter, as they say, because of your tunnel vision, and since you'll usually just be standing alone in the back lines. If you're feeling paranoid, use the Razorback, as that may give you some time to react if a spy tries to gun you down, or use Jurati to mark them for your team. Best to always unscope every so often and listen carefully for cloaking sounds or footsteps. If you're feeling that you're being harassed by a pretty competent spy, consider hanging around your engineer's nest, as they're usually not far away from you. You know, considering you're both backline classes. Hey, you know that thing I talked about? How if you shoot a spy with a Rescue Ranger or Crusader's crossbow, you hear a loud crunch sound effect? Well, who would have guessed? Same thing applies here to the Huntsman. I think. I can't be bothered to check. But it's probably true. As a spy yourself, there's not really much you can do to counter enemy spies aside from shooting them or alerting your team of their presence. If you do find yourself up against an enemy spy, use your gun. Don't try to trick stab, as that will usually just end in both of you poking each other to death. Or you know, you can just like cloak away and like hide or something. That works too. Sometimes a spy is just gonna get you. It happens to even the best of players. Spy excels at surprise plays, so it's inevitable that some spy is just gonna get you at least once, no matter what you do. So this is the end of the video. I'd like to thank Slimmy, he wrote most of the script, and he was also an actor for the video. I also want to thank Griff IRL and Tomato for also being actors. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope this video somewhat helped. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, and whatever else boosts the video in the algorithm. Thanks. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.